about a scenario where you're walking into a room, okay, and absolutely stealing everyone's attention. Disclaimer, you don't have to be an extrovert for this. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Mind Positive Store, where we talk a lot about mental health, self-love, self-discovery, and just becoming the best version of ourselves, which already exists. Today's topic is awesome. Being able to start a conversation with anyone is a great skill that sets you apart from a lot of people around. It not only helps you, getting to know a people, it helps you to learn their experiences, learn new skills, and just build up a huge, great community that is always there to uplift each other. Say you're an introvert or an ambivert, you don't have to be worried of getting into a room and being able to have a conversation with people. You don't have to be an extrovert to do this. It just requires a few tips and tricks that we are going to discuss today that will absolutely help you to start a conversation with anyone in a room. Let me start off by saying be original. Not everyone that we know is similar to each other, right? Like I am very different from my own sibling or my own partner or my best friends. Everyone has different set of lifestyle, different set of experiences they've had in their life that sets them completely different or apart from each other. Now, when you want to be the center of attention in a room, you don't have to overperform, act it, or fake it out to, people around you so that they come and talk to you or you engage with them more. It actually sets in a very bad reputation of you as well. And there are certain people who would have had a bad experience in the past. That's why they hesitate to, engage in a conversation or even go to scenarios where you have to meet new people. But let me tell you, it is super easy to stay original, stay true to yourself, but at the same time, talk to people, make new friends, and just steal the show. That's the first mindset shift that you have to make to stay true to yourself and always remember who you are. Your beliefs, your values, your experience are great piece of content or great piece of conversation topic that you can share. That you have to make is get out of your comfort zone. I think I've stressed on this topic so much right now. You better get out of your comfort zone. The point in terms of making a conversation with people can be really daunting and scary for a lot of people. Maybe because they have a lot of self-doubt and they're just comfortable. I used to have a friend who is like super introverted. Like I am also an introvert, but she was just extreme. So she would never come out and hang out with the other set of friends that we had. She preferred to just, speak to me separately, speak to them separately, not to come into a social setting where all of us will be there and she'll have to make a conversation, eye contact. All that just scares her. And the reply, when I ask her, why don't you do it? The reply that I usually get from her is, dude, like I'm comfortable right here. Why do I have to put myself into a place where I'm not comfortable, where I have to be, completely scared or worried or stressed out? I don't need that in life. But to be honest, guys, like, isn't having a conversation with a person, building up a conversation, building up a relationship, being more visible important in life? Say it is your workspace, say it's your personal life. Be it as a person, there are like so many different people who only have a very close circle, but within that close circle, they are so happy. They have someone to lean on. They have someone to share their experience with. Don't you think that is like bare minimum? That's not a luxury to ask with people. So being able to be okay in a social setting is an amazing skill and you have to develop it. That's why you need to get out of your comfort zone. Every time when someone invites you to a party, every time someone invites you for a social setting, you have a new thing that you have to present in front of a lot of people. Don't say no to it. Give it a try. I think the biggest blocker here is that we always think, oh my God, what if I fail in this? That self-doubt, that negative thought always comes across in our head. But why don't you tell yourself that it has not happened yet? Pause. You've not failed yet. You always have more probability of winning the challenge, or even acing that task completely rather than you failing it. Don't you think having a positive mindset and having that spirit to take up that challenge, come out of your comfort zone, is the biggest mindset shift here? The third mindset shift is stop comparing yourself with others. Social media nowadays have become a platform where we're always put in a pedestal and we are comparing ourselves to others. Someone else is comparing us with others. We don't need that comparison here. See, sometimes looking up to someone, inspiring from someone is great. You need that element or a person in life to look up to, or to strive towards, but that doesn't mean you compare your current life with someone else's current life, because as I said earlier, everything is different, everyone is different. They've grown up in a very different situation, so you shouldn't compare yourself saying, how is she able to make that conversation at ace? How is she becoming the center of attention and I'm here struggling to even start? See, the first few times when you kickstart this process, when you try to make a conversation, or even get out of your comfort zone, it's gonna be difficult. Cut some slack for yourself. Just be the biggest cheerleader for yourself and remind yourself that you can do it. And sooner or later, you will also understand how much you've developed and how much you've grown in that same aspect. So stop comparing yourself with fellow colleagues, friends, someone in social media, someone who stays like miles apart from you. That's not needed. You just have to compare yourself from your past version and to your present version, and look up to a future version where you want yourself to be in. Now let's get into the tips and tricks of how to start a conversation or how to maintain a conversation. The biggest challenge is actually starting a conversation, right? Like, it's very simple. You say, hi, how are you? I'm all good. Thank you for asking. What happens then? Usually you wait until the other person asks you more questions so you can reply back and engage in the conversation. But why don't you be the icebreaker and ask something? Well, when you're asking, make sure it is more personalized as a question. For example, you shouldn't ask, oh, hi, how's your work? Like, that is such a basic question. Why don't you ask, what happened last week in your work? Was last week an easy week for you, or was it tough, and how were you able to come out of it? There are so many different questions that you can ask based on how you know that person from, or how you know that person, or where do you know this person. So the questions you can ask as an icebreaker can vary from person to person, and you can be the boss in choosing them. The next tip here, to be a little bit more honest with them. You don't have to gatekeep or restrict yourself when you're trying to have a conversation, because that will be transparent and the other person can see through that, So you want to be fully engaged in the conversation, fully involved in it, and sharing, your experience as well. That also doesn't mean that you overshare. I can raise my hand for it. I am a oversharer. Sometimes I get so deep into the conversation that I don't know where to stop, and I end up saying a lot which I shouldn't. So make sure you have a good boundary between what I can share and what I cannot. Don't gatekeep yourself in the beginning itself that, oh my god, I'm going to stop this conversation right now because this is going too much. No. Be honest. What if the other person can only help you out of any problems that you want to share? Or what if another person can, bring in a different perception that will change the way you're thinking about something? So be honest in a conversation and see what happens there. The third tip is to be a good listener. To be honest, I think all of us, or very few of us, are actually good listeners, and most of us are good speakers. We want to speak. There's always a person in our lives who is ready to listen to us, who we love to speak to. In comparison to the kind of people who speak as much as we do and they don't listen to us. Like, if you're a person who wants to speak to either one of these categories, you would always choose the person who will listen to you more, right? So why don't you turn the table and become the listener this time? Make sure you listen to them carefully. Make sure your facial expressions, your eye contact is showing them that they are in the right spot and you are actually involved in the conversation, listening to them, paying full attention to them. There is another habit I've seen in a lot of people, is that either they get too distracted, or they're not interested in a conversation, or they are interested. It's just that they cannot stop themselves by checking their phone or looking around in the room or looking for someone else, giving sign languages somewhere else. That's not what we want. Make eye to eye contact, which is a great tip itself, that will show them that you are listening to them, you're paying attention to them. In turn, they will want to talk to you more. The next tip is all about listening to understand what they are trying to say and not to respond. The 99% of the times we are ready with the response even before they complete the sentence or even before they complete the question. Why don't you change that a bit and try to listen and understand what they're trying to say or what they're trying to ask? Only then your response or your reaction will be a little bit more valid to what they're trying to convey, rather than instantly saying, oh my god, no, that's not what it is. Don't cut them out in between. Make sure you give them the space and be genuine in terms of conversation. All these little things that you will do will genuinely bring in that interest in them to have more conversation with you. So make sure next time you listen to understand rather than respond. Don't cut them out in between. Even if you cut them out, right, there's this practice where I've seen a lot of people say, I'm so sorry to cut you in between, but what I understood is this. Is that what you're trying to say? Okay, so make sure you don't do it at all. But even if you are trying to do, apologize to that. These are like certain etiquettes that's like great to follow, and the other person would also be interested and involved in the conversation as much as you want to be involved. The next tip is actually really easy. It is sharing your experience about different things. Say someone is talking about handling a difficult boss. Okay, maybe you have once experienced that in your life. So you have experienced that in your life as well, but may not have the right kind of advices, like what to be done or what should you do. Rather than that, you can have advices of what to avoid, what to be careful about, because you have made those mistakes. You don't want the other person to also make the same kind of mistake. Why don't you share that? Experience can be completely different from person to person. Someone might actually have the answer that you've been looking for, whereas another person might only share an experience of what you shouldn't be doing. Or someone also might have an experience of what they've done and the results out of it, which you choose to take or not to take, right? So don't shy away from sharing your experiences, because you never know what the other person can benefit out of it. The last tip here is to actually upgrade your skill set. Everyone brings in a different set of skill set to the table, right? You know more about development, but I know more about painting, and we're all discussing about painting, but you don't have anything to share in that conversation. It will be a little bit awkward. There are two things that you can do when you come across in situations like this. The first one, if you have been encountered with a conversation or a topic that you have no idea about, okay, you can in turn ask that person more questions to understand and learn in that conversation itself. The same example, when everyone's talking about painting, talking about the different textures, the different mediums, and you're there staring at the wall, looking down like awkwardly in a silent position where you don't know how you can contribute to this conversation, don't worry. Why don't you ask conversation? Be honest with them. Tell them, listen, I have no idea about painting. Can you tell me how can I start? Like, what is 5 things I require as a beginner to start my own painting, or where can I learn it? Like, what are the different kinds of paintings you have done before and what would you recommend? There are so many different kinds of questions that you can ask when you don't know anything about, that topic. And another thing is to be well prepared before you meet the set of people. I do it a lot when I go to meet a certain kind of people who are completely new to me, right? And I know their background or I know the setting. For example, we are meeting in a business setting. It's like a business meeting and a business conference. And I also know that a lot of people there would be business people. Maybe my lack of topic would be finance. Maybe I'm not good at talking numbers. I'm not good at understanding statistics. That can be something I can research and put some time in the previous night or the morning before the meeting to understand and learn about that topic, just the gist of it, so that I can have this conversation confidently with them. I recently had an actual encounter where I was taking another person to museum, okay, and I've never gone to the museum before and it was completely new. I was the tour guide, so I had to do a lot of homework to understand what actually is there in the museum. How can I talk about different paintings, because I do paint but I don't have a lot of knowledge around the paintings displayed there and how I can have and start a conversation with the other person. So that's a great tip. And the last thing, in terms of developing more skills, there are so many platforms in this day and age that can help you develop more skills. You have paid platforms, you have free platforms that just gives you so much more opportunity to learn and develop your skill set. Obviously, there's YouTube where you're watching this very video, which is actually another skill. Like, you're learning a skill on how to communicate and talk, right? There are so many different simple videos just understanding basic concepts of painting or flower making or pottery or dance, whatever you want to learn. Everything is right there in YouTube for free. And you also have so many paid platforms, which is so good. You have Skillshare, you have Udemy. These platforms are great in terms of learning new concepts. There's an expert actually teaching you from the basics, which makes you feel so confident when you're having certain conversations. That's all for today. We've come to the end of this video. I hope you guys like this. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel and show me more love and support, because I really need it from you. Hope this video was super helpful to start a conversation, steal the show, be the center of attention in any room. Until next time, see you guys soon. Bye bye.